Every year, your cyber insurance renewal form gets a little longer and a little more specific. It used to be a quick administrative checklist. Now, insurers are subjecting businesses to hyper-specific interrogations about their network defenses. They want to know exactly when your last penetration test was, or if you enforce multi-factor authentication, requiring a second piece of proof to log in, on every single remote access point. Faced with these technical hurdles, a lot of small business owners end up guessing. They fill out the form based on what they assume is true, rather than what they can actively prove. Treating a legally binding technical audit as a guessing game creates a massive gap between what is on paper and what is happening on your servers. And that gap is exactly where valid insurance claims get denied when an attack actually occurs. Most business owners aren't lying on these forms on purpose. Running a fast-paced company means the completely honest answer to a lot of these security questions is usually, I don't actually know. That happens because IT in a smaller business is often handled reactively by whoever is available at the time. Software and systems are adopted piecemeal over the years, and there is rarely a single person tracking what security controls are switched on across the entire network. The renewal form asks about the business as a whole, demanding a definitive yes or no. But your actual operating environment is a patchwork of decisions made by different people at different times, with almost none of it written down. Relying on a disconnected web of email accounts, accounting software, and shared drives while trying to satisfy a single definitive checkbox creates a massive blind spot. These inaccuracies are the direct result of a business losing sight of its own technical reality. When a breach or a ransomware incident locks down your files, the insurer's first step isn't writing a check. They launch a forensic investigation to see if your actual daily operations matched what you submitted on the renewal form. During that post-breach audit, investigators almost always verify 4 specific controls: active enforcement of multi-factor authentication, data backups that you actually test, up-to-date endpoint protection, like antivirus software, and a documented plan for how you respond to an incident. Here is the sequence you want to avoid. You answer the form, an incident occurs, the insurer investigates, and the forensic evidence contradicts the answers you provided at renewal. If they find a mismatch, the insurer has the legal right to void or significantly reduce the payout. That applies even if the breach wasn't your fault, and your business was clearly the victim of a sophisticated hack. The industry has shifted to a forensic model, where payouts are strictly tied to the digital evidence left behind. Consider a case from a 60-person firm called Clearview Accountants. At renewal time, they confidently ticked yes to enforcing multi-factor authentication across their entire business. Their reasoning made sense on the surface. The core finance and admin teams did have MFA switched on, so the owner assumed the entire firm was safely protected. But they missed 2 remote contractors. These third parties accessed client files through a separate remote desktop tool that sat entirely outside that MFA policy, and they were completely forgotten during the renewal process. 6 months later, a phishing email successfully compromised one of those contractors' credentials. Without MFA required to complete the login, the attackers bypassed the firm's defenses and exposed sensitive client tax records. Clearview filed an insurance claim to cover the massive costs of the breach. But the insurer's forensic team immediately uncovered the MFA gap on those specific contractor accounts. Because the reality of their network didn't match the signed form, the insurers cited misrepresentation on the renewal document, slashing the payout by 40%. The Clearview case proves that protecting 90% of your business doesn't safeguard your full payout. Insurers will treat a single unprotected entry point as a breach of your renewal agreement. Fixing this vulnerability doesn't require advanced IT skills or a massive budget. It simply requires someone to take rigorous ownership of the process. Before your next renewal, you need to build a comprehensive written inventory of every single system that touches company or client data. That explicitly includes third-party software and remote contractor access. Next, you have to verify that multi-factor authentication is actively enforced on every single system on that inventory list, not just the central accounts that are convenient to manage. If Clearview had completed that simple written inventory 6 months earlier, the contractor gap would have stood out on paper. They could have secured the vulnerability before the phishing attack ever happened. By shifting your security posture from verbal assumptions to documented logs, you transform your renewal answers from a potential liability into an ironclad defense. So before you sign your next cyber insurance policy, there is a checklist to review. Ask yourself these 3 questions. Do I know every system touching company data, including contractors? Is MFA actually switched on everywhere? And can I prove my backup and incident response answers if an auditor asks? Having provable facts for those 3 items is often the dividing line between a successful payout that keeps your business running and a devastating denial of coverage. This renewal form serves as the definitive legal blueprint for your coverage, and any deviation from that blueprint can leave your business footing the bill.